Looks like you're stranded, little girl.
My car broke down. I need help.
Maybe I should check your engine.
And by engine, do you mean my vagina?
What?
Nothing. I just thought...
No, I said engine. Why don't you show me the problem?
Right here.
I think I have a big tool that can handle that problem.
And by tool, do you mean penis?
My penis? Why would I use my penis to work on your car?
I thought we were double entendres.
My penis is mushy. That would be very painful.
Sorry, I just...
No, it's okay.
Welcome to the show. My name's Tyler, and this is the Pop Culture Corner. I'm going to be joined tonight by the one and the only T.W. McKay. I thought Caden might have been here, or maybe RJ, but they have other things to do. That's okay. We will potentially be joined by William at the Sci-Fi Center a little bit later, but we have a huge conversation to have tonight. Henry Cavill's Superman. Let me get the list. This isn't the whole list because this is kind of outdated, but Galactus in the MCU. What's next for the Eternals? Doctor Strange star worried about his sequel, and I spelled sequel wrong. Great. Sequel, or whatever that says. And then movie secrets, a thing of the past. And we'll get into a huge conversation about that. But also I want to talk about David Zaslav. So he's going to be moving into the Warner Brothers lot instead of, like a off-site location, and that, and then he'll come to the Warner Brothers lot when he's, checking in or whatever. He's going to be hands-on in the lot, and what that could potentially mean for the current regime. Are they safe, or should they start looking for jobs? I'm going to say the latter. But also, Henry Cavill Superman is trending again today. I wonder why. I think Mr. Cavill had something to do with it. So we'll get into all that and more. I'm, like I said, joined today by Mr. T.W. McKay. How you doing, brother?
I'm good. You told me you were going to start with the James Gunn PG porn, but I still funny. It's still funny.
I had to cut it down a little bit.
Still funny.
It was like 2 minutes and 32 seconds or something like that. And I was like, I'll use a minute. Like once she bends over, that it's a wrap from there. That's all you need.
You're already in shaky territory at that point.
Exactly. What's up, Marcus? Lucia Bonvarda will be in Black Panther 2. The Latvian politician lawyer of Dr. Doom. So that would be, I did hear that as well. So Very
interesting.
Yeah, Black Panther 2, I think, is going to be setting up a lot of stuff in the future. I think it's going to be laying a lot of the groundwork and the seeds for what's to come. I know that huge plot detail leaked out the other day. I'm still not ready to talk about it. But
I don't even know what it is, so I'm glad you're not ready to talk about it.
Yes, yeah. Geeks, it's not from a movie. That's like, do you want to explain it?
Okay, so
the James Gunn thing.
I'm going to explain this the best I can because I had actually forgotten this thing existed until you retweeted it.
Yeah, and I was like, I'm totally using this as my intro today. What's up, Anthony?
It's for context. It's an 8-episode web series. It's called. I hope your ads don't get limited for this. James Gunn's PG porn. It was created by James Gunn and his brothers Brian and Sean. It's basically a bunch of porno spoofs of like the various plots which apparently show up in these various forms of entertainment.
Yeah.
And each episode pairs
pun on porn, yeah.
Each episode actually pairs an actual, like a sort of mainstream film actor with an adult film actress. So the first episode,
Sasha Grey is a huge porn star.
Yeah. For the first episode,
and that's who's it. That's who's in that first one is James and Sasha Grey. Sasha Grey is still one of the largest porn names there is. So you can continue. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no. That's all right. But yeah, the first episode, funny enough, features as the mainstream film actor Nathan Fillion. I mean, like, the people in this are rather funny, like Nathan Fillion, Michael Rosenbaum, Sean Gunn, of course. It's rather surprising, I must say. Just like,
no, it's really funny. It's just a joke, and
of course, it was just something that they basically had some time on their hands and was like,
right,
sure, why not?
Exactly.
So it actually apparently premiered on Spike.com.
Yep. Yeah, back when websites were bigger than like apps and
before
stuff.
YouTube existed.
Exactly. Do you remember like break.com?
The name sounds vaguely familiar.
Break.com was like a site where you would go. It was kind of like it was like funny videos, like anything from anything, like whether it was a camel like spitting on a guy or a horse, bucking someone like 10 feet. Like, it was all these weird videos and like kind of funny videos.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's actually where I first saw that James Gunn thing. So
yeah. And what was really funny though was they're all directed by James Gunn.
Mm-hmm.
All of the episodes are scored by Tyler Bates. Now,
really?
Yeah. So for those, because he's one of James Gunn's regular contributors. Like he scored the Guardians movies in between all of the soundtrack, like sort of the jukebox music. He scored Dawn of the Dead. He scored 300. He scored Watchmen. So as far as the Zack Snyder stuff, 300,
right.
Sucker Punch, Zack Snyder, James Gunn's Dawn of the Dead.
Damn, I didn't know that.
And he was a guitarist in a band whose singer I don't want to talk about, but it is listed on the Wikipedia page.
Right. So yeah, guys, with that being said, before we do get into anything tonight, I saw Geeks asked about the Campia leak. So that's kind of what our final conversation of the night's going to be is our movie secrets a thing of the past? Because, the more and more we trudge down this internet world, this internet society, the less, oh my God, I'm having a terrible spelling and pronunciation day. The less surprises and reveals it seems we're getting in our media, whether that's the Campia leaks or the actual trailer leaking for Spider-Man No Way Home, the previs trailer. Like it's and Star Wars is a huge thing, right? Like Star Wars, all that stuff. It's all so prone to these huge leaks because they are these big blockbusters. Like, the bigger the movie, the bigger the spoiler, right?
Well, yeah, because everyone's got eyeballs on it. So as opposed to, like, if it was a smaller production, less people would care. It doesn't mean they wouldn't, but it just means it's less likely for things to leak out. Plus, pardon me, it's genre fiction as well is particularly prone to this. Whether it's whether it's like science fiction and fantasy, particularly if they're original IPs, they're more likely to get them out. Or even stuff like this, where No Way Home obviously has this huge potential for both nostalgia and fan service.
Right.
So, of course, everyone's going to be looking at this thing, and especially considering what the leaks seem to have revealed, if we are under the assumption that they are, in fact, real, then huge deal.
Right.
But what's kind of funny is it's almost like a sort of, it's like, I have a feeling it's going to be like a sine wave, where it's going to be like, it's going to be over time, bunch of leaks, no leaks, or like a bunch of information about the film, no information about the film. Because if you look back even, I guess it would be 30 years, not 30, probably closer to 40 when you're looking at the 80s, and especially earlier, you pretty much almost had the whole premise of, or like the major story beats in the trailer.
Naturally.
So it's just, I mean, like, to the point where, like, what we would consider spoilers, except for like key things, would show up. So it's very interesting to see like how much has changed. But again, like I said, I think it's a combination of things. Like we had discussed the other night, the issue with particularly Sony. Gasp, shock, horror.
That's what Spider-Man looks like anytime a leak comes out.
Well, I mean, literally considering in Far From Home, he is reacting to the most important leak in his life.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, oh, giant screen in the middle of Times Square. Oh dear.
With his face on it.
Yeah. But that's the funny thing. Like I said, is because Sony, in their case, was kind of outsourcing a bunch of the stuff.
Exactly.
So
and that once you start outsourcing things, you're so much more susceptible to these things happening.
You're more liable. I know it was discussed with respect to low wage non-union labor, but even if you just look at it, is the fact that it's like Russian roulette, and you're introducing more and more and more people to the game, right? Eventually, someone's going to fire the shot. It's just going to happen. It's just kind of when. I don't know what you can do to fix it. That's the next big question I think the industry needs to tackle. Yeah,
and I think and I don't want to get too far into this because I did want to end with it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And listen, I know last night and yesterday a little bit I did go a little too hard. Maybe not a little too hard, but I think I went a little too deep on John. Just in my own way. I don't want to act like that typically, but I do really firmly believe that there needs to be punishment for actions like what happened. I think that, he needs to have his premieres taken away or something that will make him think twice about doing it again. And then also make other people think twice about doing something like that.
And I'm so interested when it comes to the chain of this. Right. What happens if obviously I think Campy had admitted that he didn't give up the person.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, what happens if they find this person, right?
Gone.
They will obviously be blipped to themselves, but the point is I genuinely wonder what would be the potential outcome. Would it be it would obviously be a civil suit. Because it's not really.
It'd be ejecto cito, because it'd be immediate termination and potential. I don't
doubt. Because that's the other thing is, was it an employee? Was it a friend of a friend?
Was it a PA?
Was this obtained through illegitimate means in the sense of was this ripped off of someone's hard drive? Was it person A who, employee A wasn't looking and non-employee B, pulled it off the hard drive and was like, oh, I got something here and I can go send it off to whomever, right?
Right, because we know Sony's not too great in that security department. At least their cybersecurity.
And I think we're coming up on what? What was it? We just passed 5 years. I think we just hit 5 years of the hack. So that's what
a crazy scenario that was. That was kind of scary, actually.
Well, because it affected everything, right? Because it wasn't just what was it? Within the span of a year, you had the interview drop, which was a Sony film, far as I can remember, and then the hack happened. So of course, I think we all thought, and it might have actually been a North Korean thing, right?
Right.
So it was very strange, and then seeing all, because it leaked not just kind of standard corporate emails. This was material that was also involved in certain respects creatives too, which is what I think made this so much more kind of freaky versus this, where it's very much depending on whether it's an editor, whether it's a graphic, another graphic designer, but a visual effects artist or something like that, where there is creatives involved. It's sort of not the kind of, I don't want to say key creatives, but I hope you understand what I'm getting across as far as the people more directly involved narratively and visually, is the fact that it's not them versus the Sony hack where it was kind of everybody.
Agreed. So before we do get started officially, Guys, make sure I didn't even do this part. So make sure to smash the like button, share the show on social media so your friends, family, and Mephisto can watch along with us. And if it's your first time here, welcome. Make sure to subscribe and ring that notification bell so you don't miss any new uploads or any cool new content. You can also help support the channel further by becoming a member and or sending a super chat during a live show. All proceeds do go back into our production and giveaways. And I did finally get access to my YouTube today. So now I can do members only streams again and all that good stuff. I have a lot planned as far as going forward to kind of like make up for the past 2 months that I wasn't able to do much. And as a courtesy to everybody, I will not monetize a video for another week as a thank you to everybody. So no ads for the next week on me. Thank you guys. I do appreciate it. So with that, what were you gonna say?
I was saying right on.
Right on, right? Right on. So with that being said, let's jump into our first topic. We'll be right back. So, David, you're familiar with what's going on, right? Obviously with the merger and everything like that.
Well,
right?
like I'm familiar with the merger, but I wasn't particularly familiar. I saw among sort of mutuals of ours on Twitter discussion about Zaslav, but I didn't know about the news until you started kind of DMing me about what we're talking about tonight.
Gotcha. So David Zaslav is the head of Discovery. And he is a part of a merger that I'm sure everybody here knows about, but I do want to kind of go over it a little bit. So Warner Brothers is in Discovery will be merged, and the head of Discovery, David Zaslav, is going to be taking over. Now, typically, when a head executive like a guy like Zaslav, who he's going to be at Warner Brothers, typically they might have an office on the Warner Brothers lot just for when they're there and working, on the lot, on the studio lot in LA. However, this guy is moving to LA, like permanent residency, and he's going to be housed in the Warner Brothers lot as his like legitimate office, not like, what I was talking about, like just for when he's there. So this is a huge deal because he's really making strides to be hands-on. And with guys like Walter Hamada, they really have nothing to show. Like Hamada really doesn't have too much to show for the DC brand. And that's super disappointing considering the IP that he's in charge of. You have the biggest names in pop culture and you haven't done shit, right? So it seems like anytime Zaslav kind of speaks up or says anything, it's all pointing in the right direction, and it's exciting. So let's read a little bit of what the article says. So David Zaslav is relocating from New York to the left coast, the best coast, the Beast Coast.
The left coast. That sounds like how they would describe. That sounds like how they would describe like California on Fox News or something. Welcome to the left coast.
The CEO of Discovery, who is set to lead the proposed combo of Warner Media and Discovery, said he will primarily be based in Los Angeles by the time the deal is expected to close in mid-2022. I'm moving to California, Zaslav said, speaking Wednesday at the Paley Center for Media's International Council Summit. He said he'll have an office on the Warner Brothers lot because that's where the content is made. Yeah. The better content we have, the better chance we have of being the leading media company in the world. Zaslav added that he will return regularly to the East Coast to keep tabs on the company's media businesses based there, including CNN. So basically he's kind of like doing the opposite of what someone would do. Typically, I feel like they would be based out in New York, like have a nice little house in New York, and then travel to LA when needed. But it seems like he's going to, he wants to be involved. He's going to be really focused on the content creation. And I just anytime this guy says anything, I'm super intrigued and I'm excited. So Zaslav interviewed at the Paley event, but is that just like a writer said he will be very hands-on in running the merged media and entertainment company, calling the gig a dream surreal opportunity. It's funny because like you don't hear any of this stuff. You don't hear like this. When was the last time Walter Hamada did an interview? I remember. It was that one that he called the thing a cul-de-sac. Right?
Yeah.
So pretty much the last interview Walter Hamada did, he isolated a fan base. Zaslav has come in so hot, and with so like just a like bright energy, and I think that's what we need at Warner Brothers right now. Is a bright energy, someone who's willing to take risks, get their hands dirty, and listen. Ultimately, if they don't ever restore the Snyderverse, I know that that's like big on everyone's list. If they don't ever technically restore the Snyderverse, you do need to fix that relationship with Ray Fisher. You do need to fix the relationship with Zack Snyder.
Yes.
Just on a human level. And maybe try to mend bridges with Christopher Nolan. And then just all I ask, tell good stories. Tell good stories. If you don't restore the Snyderverse, if you don't restore the Snyderverse, at least do right by the fans to some degree and tell good stories. Yeah.
And for me, I think that the thing that I'm really sort of interested in is that, but also I think especially with everything that's happened, I kind of feel like I've been burned a little bit. So like for me, it's honestly, I'm waiting for the rubber to meet the road, because I think this just finally cleared. I'm trying to think if it has already, like the Warner merger has been cleared by the FCC, right? Or the FTC rather, whatever the appropriate regulatory body would be in the US.
Mm-hmm.
So once the rubber meets the road, once they finally, okay, whoever's sticking around is sticking around, and whoever's here is here, then we'll find out what's going to happen at that point, right? Because I know that Hamada just had interest like a little while ago, so I'm interested to see exactly what happens with that. But we'll see, because again, it could just kind of, because I think until the merger officially happens, till the keys are handed over, as it were, it's kind of just business as usual.
It is.
So once it happens, again, like I said, we can see where the money's going. Also take into consideration when it comes to money and spending. I know that Zaslav has said he wanted to put in several billions of dollars into the IPs across the entire Warner Brothers Discovery platform, the portfolio rather. So it's kind of the question of how much money's going where. It's the question of, what's the regime going to be like at the top? How many people are sticking around? Is Hamada going to stick around? Sarnoff, anyone else?
I think they're all gone. I think because he could have, like, in reality, he could have opened up over any of this period of time and said, listen, they're doing a great job over there right now. Like, I'm extremely excited to work with Walter Hamada, Toby Emmerich, and Sarnoff. But no, he hasn't named any of them. He hasn't even recognized that they exist, right? I'm pretty sure
that's a very fair point.
Right. I'm pretty sure they are all numbered, and they should all be looking for new gigs. If they're not going to be legitimately fired, I would see maybe Walter gets kicked back over to New Line Cinema and back to his old job and does that. And honestly, I would love if they brought Deb in to run DC films.
I honestly think, especially with what's going on with Stone Quarry and how heavy Snyder's schedule is looking, you've got especially what is effectively his actual own Snyderverse over at Netflix. You've got Planet of the Dead, you've got the Army of the Dead prequel anime that's coming out. Army of Thieves just came out. He's working on Rebel Moon. I don't doubt he's probably going to be doing a few more things over there.
Mm-hmm.
So I think more than anything else, it doesn't seem realistic that Deborah Snyder would be involved as especially at that high up. I don't know. I mean, not that she wouldn't necessarily be capable of it. I think it's quite possible she could be. I just don't. It doesn't seem realistic for her job as a producer, considering how heavily she is involved in Zack's projects, to then take on an entire company and having to deal with producing these films for a competing company, and then also working on all this stuff. I don't know whether it would be even feasible. Not on like a physical ability level, but just merely like a corporate legal level.
Right. So, I mean, listen, let's really think about it, right? What has Walter Hamada done? Nothing. Not really anything. He came in and Shazam was already in development. Joker was already in development.
He came in a very weird time. Like he was replacing a guy who left under, rather unfortunate circumstances for the person whose career he affected. If you guys know what happened with Tsujihara, you'll know what I'm talking about. Because I'm so sorry, I don't remember the actress's name. I feel terrible, but it was a whole thing, and so that's why he had to leave. And so Walter Hamada came in and effectively was kind of a placeholder. Right. And another real issue when it came to money, which is why Discovery bought them, was yes, Keelar kind of helped right the ship in many ways, but I think one of the other issues was the fact that they just had no money. Like basically AT&T bought Time Warner, got Time Warner, looked at the finances and went, "Oh, dear God, no." The best way, it almost felt like kind of someone sent like a lit canoe or sailboat of fireworks towards an oncoming ship in the distance. That's effectively what they did when it came. Here you go. It was just waiting for the kaboom to happen.
And let's be real, AT&T has no business in this game. They really don't.
I'm honestly surprised that I'm honestly in certain respects surprised that the FTC let it go through. Because Discovery is an entertainment company. AT&T is a telecommunications company. That means they would own the television service that runs your streaming service and airs your movies. And
also the content on it.
And airs your movies and your television and all the stuff on it. So I'm surprised there wasn't sort of more kind of not antitrust, but like anti-monopoly investigation into that. Yeah, I don't necessarily think it would have been a monopoly because there's so many other options for it. It's just as far as strangeness in owning this and that and that and that.
Right. And like I said, AT&T tried to do the best that they could with what they were given. And what they were given, like you said, was a giant dumpster fire. They were amidst a scandal of epic proportion with the Ray Fisher situation. And honestly, with the rest of the cast as well, right? How many cast members have come out since then and said, even Ben Affleck wanted to have a walk-off.
According to suggestion by people on set, I forget exactly who was cited. I would love to see the citation again to make sure we're correct on this. Affleck, of course, kind of potentially wanted to stage a walkout on the Justice League reshoot set. Also taken into consideration from what the timeline was, they effectively pulled him out of the drunk. Am I cutting out? Am I good?
You're cutting out a little bit, yeah.
Am I here? Am I good okay now?
Yep.
Okay. Another thing was they effectively had to pull, because Affleck was going through rehab, and they effectively pulled him out of rehab for alcoholism to go do the reshoots.
And I'm going to tell you something about alcohol rehab because I've been through it.
And that's why I would like your perspective on it as a person who's gone through it.
Alcohol dependency is up. It is the top 2 most dangerous detoxes there are. Benzodiazepines are neck and neck with alcohol because your body is so physically dependent on them that you're at risk for seizures. You're at risk for like blackouts, for like medically serious conditions. So to be pulled out of a detox, they call it an AMA. It's against medical advice, right?
Yes, exactly.
So, Ben was in no place to be back on a film set that quick. Typically, your average detox from alcohol if you're drinking like Ben and I were, you need, I would say, a solid 3-4 months before you should be doing anything. What your main goal is while you're getting better, right? Or you're kicking it, is to kick it. That's it.
Yeah.
Right. After 7 days, your body isn't physically dependent on it, but that's when you go through, like, all of a sudden, all of these emotions and everything start hitting you. Right. After like the 7th, 8th day, you start to feel again. And that can be a really dangerous thing for some people. So, it was very ignorant of Warner Brothers and Joss to even ask if he would come out of detox.
And when you're on top of that, when you're looking at, well, you can pretty much go through, if you look at the core 6, I think, if memory serves correctly, TJ, I could be wrong, I think the Fox Disney thing, A, was afterward, but B, more importantly, they legally Murdoch had to spin off Fox News and the sports divisions. Like, they chose to spin off the sports, but I think they had to spin off the news just to be able to let it go through, because it was pretty much, I think, just the intellectual properties that they owned. I could be wrong.
Right. Yeah.
But you look at the core 6 of the Justice League, right? Look who was affected. You had what happened with Ray Fisher. You have the fact that Jason Momoa, seeing all of this stuff coming out during the investigation, like the whole Frosty the Snowman thing and him calling BS on that. You had the fact that, according to Gal Gadot's own admission, Joss Whedon threatened her career. You have, and that's half your team, right there.
Exactly.
And the fact that you have multiple people involved with the actual film, if we're just looking at this film, Jeremy Irons said he didn't like going back. Chris Terrio, the screenwriter for Justice League, for Zack Snyder's Justice League, called his attorney to ask Warner's to remove his name from the film. He mentioned that in the Hollywood Reporter interview that he did, which was really a fascinating interview, and I highly recommend it. But
can you imagine that?
And the reason he did it was because he felt that the narrative structure had changed so much. But the reason why they didn't actually, because if you watch Justice League, it'll say story by or script by Joss Whedon and Chris Terrio, was that the attorney had told him basically the film had been effectively, digitally, so to speak, put to print, and they would have to recall all of the digital equivalent of film reels, scrub his name, scrub his name, and then send them back out. And it would just be economically infeasible. So he's like, all right, fine, and put up with it. Right. But that's your screenwriter. This is a guy who won an Academy Award for Argo. To think about the guy was basically part of two of the most, production-wise, not script-wise, but production-wise, involved in two of the most controversial films and two of the largest franchises in the last, bajillion years. Yeah. Because for those who don't know, Chris Terrio also was the co-writer for The Rise of Skywalker. And I happen to like that script. But there's a lot of there's issues with it, but that's a whole other discussion which we'll have later. Yeah. And I think Chris is he's a genius. I absolutely love his writing, and for him to be like, don't put my name on that. That's saying something. It was really interesting. It's depressing. Yeah. I thought it was, with this whole Zaslav thing too, even Ray Fisher, he's even gone on record saying, wait till the merger and let's see what happens with the merger, and then we'll talk. So I'm all these people that are a part of the Snyderverse, in the Snyder community, it seems like they're kind of waiting patiently as well as we are, just as much as we are too, to see, could the story have a happy ending? And imagine what a twist of fate that would be. This whole Snyder movement in itself could be a documentary film, how it all happened and came together. And then I'm interested to see what happens when we look back at this 10 years from now, because 10 years from now will be the 10th anniversary of the release of Zack Snyder's Justice League.
Right.
So looking at everything that came out in between,
Yeah.
will be a very interesting thing. And plus, I think at that point, everyone's going to have enough distance that they'll be able to look at it a little bit more. I won't say objectively, but at least a little bit more kind of, especially if they were affected by the situation. Hopefully the wounds won't be as raw.
Exactly.
And they can feel comfortable discussing what happened a little bit more freely.
Right. And that kind of brings me to the next topic. So we are going to talk about what was trending today and why right after this. All right. So in an interview, Henry Cavill had a lot to say. And I know a lot of people right now are like trying to say that Henry Cavill is confirmed to coming back because of these statements. I'd
love formal citation on that part from Warner's and more than anything else.
Right. That is not true, by the way. That this is not confirming that he's back. He said the cape's in the closet before. What he's trying to say is he's ready to be Superman when Warner Brothers wants him to be Superman.
And I want him back.
Yes, and I think everyone wants him back, right? Like I feel like it's a unilateral thing too. Like everybody's like, yes, give Henry the emblem. Like give him the cape, give him the boots, let's go. But it's like Warner Brothers executives are the only people that can't fucking understand. Like, dude, people are clamoring for Henry Cavill. Like the studios are clamoring to get him. And Warner Brothers had him first and threw it away and still haven't picking up the pieces. But so this is the thing. So so this is Henry Cavill speaking, of course. Superman's far more than skin color. And he's he's talking about so he was asked about multiple Supermen and potentially with the inclusion of Val Zod or Calvin Ellis coming into play with, whether it be multiverse or whatever.
Yeah.
So Superman is far more than skin color. He's an ideal. Superman's an extraordinary thing that lives within our hearts. Why not have multiple Supermen going on? Joaquin Phoenix did a wonderful Joker movie. So what if it's not tied to the rest? They have multiple Superman comic book storylines happening at the same time. There's still a lot of storytelling for me to do as a Superman. And I would absolutely love the opportunity. As I always say, the cape's in the closet. So I don't know how anyone's misconstruing this as Henry Cavill's back as Superman, but he clearly says, I would absolutely love the opportunity. As I always say, the cape's in the closet. I'm very confused at where the miscommunication is here. But what do you think about this? Is it nice to see Henry still optimistic about playing Superman?
I love it, and I think whenever I hear a comment like that, especially if you remove the actual sentence where it kind of like the ending part, the cape's in the closet. A friend of ours, Enoch, over at the Poindexter Lounge, is a massive Superman fan. I could literally almost hear his voice reading that quote,
right?
Because of how Superman is represented, and especially with, like he said, you could have multiple Supermen existing. To have Val Zod, which DC has said, Warner's has said, is on Earth 2, which is very interesting considering Earth 2 is apparently the formal designation in the DC Extended Universe for Matt Reeves' Batman universe.
Right, that is definitely.
So that would be interesting if they're both on the same Earth, and I think it could work.
I think that could be awesome.
I would love
that could be awesome.
I think it'd be interesting because it'd be like, what would be his role, right? Because where Val Zod was sort of the version of Val Zod that we're talking about here, that is being the film that's being produced by Michael B. Jordan, that version of Val Zod, as far as I know, was introduced in a comic run that I actually have, which was Earth 2, which was the name of the story. It was when the New 52 came back. it wasn't just their Prime continuity. They also rebooted basically the multiverse. And they had a whole new version of Earth 2. And spoiler alerts for those, massive spoilers for those who wish to read the run. In the first issue, Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman, who are the three sort of remaining superheroes, as it were,
right,
die. So there has to be a whole new team of superheroes, and that's where we meet Jay Garrick and Alan Scott and this world's version of Hawkgirl and Atom Smasher, and Val Zod later on in the story is one of the characters we're introduced to. And so it would be interesting to see if they kind of follow that route of like, this is a character who's coming in to replace a dead Superman, you know, or something along those lines, or if it's purely this Val Zod, this Superman will be the only one.
right.
Like, will be the only Superman. Like Clark Kent, Kal-El will not be the Superman of Metropolis or something like that. I'm very interested to see what happens there. I'm glad to see that he still wants to do it. I hope that Warner's one day wants to do it, because I've been waiting for Man of Steel 2 forever. All I want is just Superman fighting Brainiac, because
That's what I'm saying.
Brainiac is my hands down, no disrespect to Luthor or Doomsday or Mongol or anyone like that.
Brainiac is my favorite villain.
He is my favorite Superman villain, and especially if you look at different versions of him, the guy is very powerful. And when it comes to multiverses, even though I'm not a fan of Convergence, it's what actually kind of turned me off of DC for a while.
Yep.
The fact that you have a multiversal aspect to Brainiac, I think if you wanted to introduce some other crossover after The Flash, assuming The Flash doesn't do some sort of massive retconning of the Prime continuity of the DCEU as we understand it, I think you could do it again. I think you could do something crazy with it. Now, the way that JJ is doing Superman, the way that he wants to introduce a black Superman, right? It seems less like him. It seems more like what Warner's wants to do, and they kind of just talk about J.J. Abrams and Ta-Nehisi Coates in the distance. But honestly, there's other characters that kind of fit that bill. Like, even though it's a much older character, generationally speaking, is Icon. Now, Icon was a Milestone character, a Milestone Entertainment character, and he had a very similar power set to Superman. And the character is black, and he actually lands as an infant during the period, during the period of the Civil War. His adopted mother, as far as I remember, is a slave. And he basically, when he gets to adulthood, he just stops aging. So like, he pretends to be his son and stuff like that to kind of represent the time passing and so forth. But he still has a really interesting story, and Rocket is a great character to play off of in that sense. So you have an opportunity to kind of open up that world. And considering that, you also have Michael B. Jordan producing a Static Shock film, like a static film. What better way? If you want to introduce Milestone characters, why not continue this with Icon? You know what I mean?
Yeah, that'd be good. Dude, I can't wait for Static Shock. I can't
wait for the Static movie, and I know that they Milestone just did a massive reintroduction in the comic books. They finally did a huge introduction. Dennis Cowan's back, and a bunch of the other great artists, and a bunch of new great artists of color and writers of color, and I'm really excited for that, because there's another character that's getting his own book again is Hardware, and I liked Hardware. So
yeah,
just to see all those characters, Blood Syndicate's getting a new book, and seeing all the other stuff that Milestone's doing again that were announced at Fandom really warmed my heart, and I just wish there was more live action integration.
Yeah, so the Ta-Nehisi Coates and J.J. Abrams Superman, I like what Nick said. The way that Jack describes Ta-Nehisi Coates as Superman is so hilarious, because Jack really doesn't like Ta-Nehisi Coates and you know how he acts. And I could definitely see like an overly PC'd Superman story where Superman's black and it takes place, in the past, and a white guy tries, like I could see it being way over the top, to the point where it's not even like a Superman story anymore. So I am actually
I need to read his Black Panther run, because he did a Black Panther. It was a mini series or a series. I need to read that, because like I remember I remember seeing him in my Twitter feed several years ago, kind of popping up sporadically, and I don't remember much of his. I know that the guy leans left. I just don't remember a lot of his political views on particular issues.
He doesn't just lean left.
It's kind of he's not left, he's west kind of thing.
Yeah, he's a cannonballed into the left side.
Okay. Well, either way, it's just I'm interested to sort of kind of dive back in and see his discussion, but it's just, again, the way that they did it, the time that they did it, just kind of felt so off to me, and it felt like there was, if you wanted to have a Superman who was black, there are better ways to do it, and literally there was a couple of different ways to do it. Maybe one of them was just not doing it as Superman at all. Like you had Val Zod, you had Calvin Ellis. You don't need to have Clark Kent that as
an African American,
as a black character. It just
right.
You don't need it, and it just it was a very strange choice. And like I said, it's not just blaming J.J. Abrams for everything or blaming whoever, because I'm like, this was more of Warner's thing. It was just, I think they just needed to attach a director and they needed to attach a screenwriter. But that's my opinion on the subject. Because there's another project that J.J. Abrams is doing for Warner's, which I'm very excited for, which he's co-executive producing, which for our chat who might not remember, is Batman Caped Crusader. He is one of the executive producers on it with Matt Reeves and Bruce Timm. And so I'm very interested to see where that goes. Looks like it most likely will be 2D again, which is nice, and especially hearing all of the things that seem to be said about it is really interesting.
Yeah. When it comes to source material, I understand that studios don't always see it the way we see it. Like it's not as pertinent to them as it is to us, fans of the actual material. But when you take, when you race or gender swap a character, Eternals did it. Eternals did it with characters that not a lot of people know. And guess what? No one's talking about that aspect of it. No one's like, oh my God, Sprite was a female. Oh my God, this was terrible. No one was saying that. No one, right? Because they're lesser known characters. And you can honestly get away with it. And it doesn't really take away from the story.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that if you turned Clark Kent black, that would take away from the story. But I'm saying it would alter the character in some capacity. Clark Kent was always been and will always be depicted as a white male who landed in Kansas and was raised by Ma Kent and Pa Kent on a farm. And that's it. There are other characters, like Calvin Ellis is a great option. Val Zod is a great option. You don't need to take Clark Kent and turn him or race swap him when you can have
has been futzing with that and Warner's has been futzing with that forever, because not even just as far, I'm not even talking about like swapping ethnicities or genders here. What I'm talking about is the fact of messing with Superman's origin. Literally, there was an interview which we've all, which has been kind of in our circle, was, played ad nauseum, was Zack Snyder talking about when they were going through production on Man of Steel, saying, why don't we put, Clark in Chicago? Why don't we put him in, no, not even that. Why don't we put him in Chicago? And he's like, no, he needs to be raised in Kansas. That's his.
Yeah, that doesn't even make sense.
That's part of his origin. Like it's
what now? Clark's
being in the small town. No, Clark cannot be a city boy. Or at least most. If you want to kind of have him aligned close to the comic books, you can have him literally you could have him maybe in rural Illinois. It doesn't have to be Chicago, or Kansas. But what I'm saying is the rural aspect of his character is what's fundamental. It's Batman's the city boy. Exactly. Now, the one time where it actually worked for the character of Kal-El is a story which I like and is really cool, called Superman Speeding Bullets. It's an Elseworlds story.
Yes.
For those who might not be familiar, DC used to have an imprint called Elseworlds where they told kind of different what if stories. It was effectively the what if brand, effectively, for DC. And the what if question here for a lot of Superman stories was, what if Superman landed somewhere else?
Right.
So
Red
Red Sun, he landed in the Soviet Union and whatnot.
Yeah, that's like a fun way to tell those Elseworld stories. They were so fun sometimes. Like they were,
because you could do whatever.
Yeah, and that's when you give the pen to the creator and say, have fun with it, right?
And Speeding Bullets, just to quickly finish up my point, and I'm going to let Ty get back to his thing, was the what if for Speeding Bullets was, what if Kal-El landed just outside of Gotham and was picked up by the Waynes. So
Right.
Kal-El in Speeding Bullets, his adopted name is Bruce Wayne. So it is Kal-El who is in the alley when his parents are killed by Joe Chill. And that's when his superpowers manifest, because in a rage, he shoots laser vision out of his eyes and kills Joe Chill. And so he tries to kind of hide his powers and who he truly is in many aspects. But he still becomes a superhero, and he, for the most part of the beginning of the story, becomes Batman. It's a really interesting story. It's on DCuniverse, I think, if you want to go find it out. But the other issue is, as far as like reprints in physical, it's very hard to find sometimes.
Yeah, I think Speeding Bullets like a really fun one.
Yeah,
Jarbo, if you want to come on, you can.
Hi, Jarbo.
You can definitely jump in if you'd like. Talk a little bit about what we got tonight. But yeah, so again, let's not get it twisted, folks. Henry Cavill is not confirmed to be coming back as Superman via these comments. So please stop spreading that, because it's only, promote, like, doing the whole fake news rounds. These comments,
it's the Mephisto thing where you yourself are the ones creating the false expectations.
Yes, exactly. And we don't want to be part of that. We don't want to do that. I'm not going to do a transition for this one, but speaking of characters that are from DC, David Ayer shared this image of Joker. And I'm not really too sure what to think about it. Any thoughts on that? I'm really
This is the first I've ever seen of it. This is concept art, right? So like this is a perfect example of coming up with something before, because things can change. So this I'm not particularly the biggest fan of with the Sharpie, but it looks like
is it a tattoo Sharpie? I don't understand what the fuck's going on here.
His eyebrows are tattoos, right?
Yeah, the eyebrows are definitely tattoos. I don't know, because
I think the eyebrows
kind of looks
are
like
tattoos.
it's ha-has.
Right?
You're cutting out a little bit. It might also be me. I'm not sure. No, it's not me. I can't hear you anymore, though. All right, so while we wait for T-Dub to figure his thing out, I'm definitely not liking the look of this. I'm glad it never came to fruition. I really,
It could be.
I guess hindsight's 2020, right? Because the way Zack Snyder depicted this particular Joker, I think is the way it should have always been. I absolutely love what Zack did with the Joker character and what Leto was able to create upon the blueprint, right? No pun intended. I really enjoyed it, and I think that if you could take that Joker, cut his hair, that in that style, and then that could have been in Suicide Squad, I think that would have been a lot cooler, because obviously, like, the Joker was going to change from point A to B, because we're in the middle of like a literal apocalypse come the nightmare scenes. So there was going to be some difference in the look, but if you could just, like the Joker that he put on screen was what I wanted this whole time. And I know like David's really defended his vision and defended what he was putting on screen. So regardless, I'd be excited to see it. But then again, like I'm not going to lose sleep if I never do. So I just wanted to jump into that real quick. You cut out a little bit. I couldn't really hear what you were saying.
No, I really wasn't saying anything. It was like I was, because my internet was kind of acting a little slow, I was just kind of waiting for you to talk for it to catch up, and then I'd jump back in.
Okay. Yeah, so that's cool, I guess. I mean, I feel like right now we're in the time of, remember when Zach was always sharing photos of the Snyder Cut? I feel like that's kind of where we are with David Ayer's Suicide Squad. It kind of seems so like reminiscent of it. Like it's like the same build up, like a little tease there, a little tease there. And then all of a sudden like, oh, it's greenlit and we're getting it. So, I mean, according to Mikey Sutton,
in both cases, I think the one of the things is the movie, unlike if you were to compare this to like for a formal restoration of the Snyderverse, in both cases, the movie's done. It just literally, and especially in David Ayer's case, the score is done. He's heard it. He said it's amazing.
No radio songs.
Even if you remove subjectivity from it, like, it's a full score. And it's the film, like it's done. Like it just needs to be re-edited into the way that it is in his mind and was on the script. Yep. And also apparently the novelization that was done apparently is very close to what sort of the Ayer cut would be. So nuts to me to think the novelization was written by Marv freaking Wolfman, because Marv Wolfman is an absolute legend. And so, it's just kind of nuts to think that he did like a novelization, which is cool. It's just, it was surprising.
Right. So Anthony Beltray said, no Green Lantern movie or update on the TV show. Shake my head. I actually do have some information about the Green Lantern series, but I can't share it just yet. So that I think I'll be able to in the next week or two, be able to share some information on the Green Lantern series.
Okay.
And trust me, it's really cool. So
right.
I'm super excited about that show. Green Lantern's always, Batman and Superman are awesome, but Green Lantern's always been my favorite Justice League member. I'm a huge Lantern Corps fan. Yes, I kind of like the Jeff Johns run of like Blackest Night and stuff, but there are other great storylines as well, and just as good. So the Jeff definitely, he expanded the Green Lantern Corps like to all different depths. And no one can take that away from him at this point. So unfortunately his name's definitely going to be on the show and he's probably going to be running it. Which, is what it is.
Well, I know that far as I know, I don't think like Johns is going to have the same level of involvement, because clearly what had happened with the reshoots, even though there wasn't any, it doesn't look like there was a formal reprimand. I think because of what happened, I think Warner's would be rather reticent to have him involved in the same capacity that he was in like some sort of executive producer role.
Well, that's the thing. That's what I was thinking.
It'll probably be like a creative consultant thing. Like if they adapt Blackest Night or like War of the Green Lanterns or something like that, they'll talk to him because he worked on the comic book or something like that. And even then, my guess is they would probably need to put some sort of thing in place, right? As far as like making sure that people are okay on set.
Well, that's the thing. So I did 100% agree and think that Jeff Johns was not going to be show running Green Lantern. Casey Walsh of GWW says that I'm wrong. He says that we're all wrong and that we're all biased because we're Snyder fans. And he's still going to be in charge of it. Like if you look over at Stargirl, he's still running in that show as well. And I think that that's true. Contrary to what Anthony says here, I I thought you said ruin, not run.
No,
Sorry.
run.
I think Stargirl season 2 was actually really good. And I'm not
I've
ashamed
heard
to
different
admit it.
things from different people, and I just need to sit down and watch it because it's like, hey, William.
Hey, what's going on today? CW?
William, did you you cut the mustache in the right way? I like it.
It was looking like I was a Cro-Magnon, so I had to do something there.
I dig it. So what do you? We've already kind of went into a little bit about Zaslav, and him kind of moving into the Warner Brothers lot, and we've got into. So everyone seems to like trending on social media. Obviously, of course, people taking this out of context and saying that Henry Cavill's confirmed coming back as Superman. What are your thoughts on those? So we can quickly get your opinion.
From quite a while ago, I don't think there was any doubt that he was ever coming back. It's just a matter of scheduling and a whole bunch of other issues. What people got to realize. I think they made the deal. There was a deal in place the day that they were revealed the Snydercut was being released. When they had him sitting there, I don't think Danny Garcia would have ever let her client get on there and be associated with that without having a deal in place already. So It's just what, where, and when, and to what magnitude. But I've always thought that you would see Henry Cavill as Superman again. That was never a doubt in my mind.
Listen.
I'm Danny Garcia. Like as far as for me, for Danny Garcia, I'm more. I know she's involved in this thing, but I'm kind of more interested in another business venture that she's co-running that hopefully will come back in 2023. But that's a whole other discussion.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about, but yeah, that is a whole other thing. But yeah, I think they're just waiting on the right time and the right project, and for him to be freed up because he's involved in a lot. He's about to do Highlander. He's doing The Witcher. It's just
Yeah, like I said earlier, every studio's pulling at a different angle for him, and Warner Brothers. He's always been very keen with playing Superman and very open and honest about how he wants to come back and do it. And I'm just so surprised that Warner Brothers hasn't just come out and said, listen, don't worry, he's Superman still. Like he's 100% our Superman. We might do other Supermen in like a multiverse fashion, but don't worry. Like if they just came out and said that, what's the problem with that?
Well, they've always been very poor. Well, this version of Warner Brothers, the outgoing version, has always been very poor in translating what they're doing to the people that are actually waiting for what they're doing. They don't communicate with their fans. I'm not saying to give us everything, but give us some type of roadmap to the point where we're not just saying, you know what, I'm going to move on to something else. I mean, if you say, hey, just like you said, Henry Cavill's our Superman, we don't know what, when, and the details of the product. That's enough. That's enough. That's enough to keep people engaged in their overall product.
Yeah. So, I mean, do you think that Zaslav is going to clean house at Warner Brothers when he officially takes over?
Yes, it'll be subtle. It won't be. You won't be see a bunch of people getting marched out with cardboard boxes, but what you'll see positions created. Like right now, Walter Hamada is the president of the BC Films, so you'll see a position created, executive VP of DC motion content, just something like that, to the point where that particular job will answer directly to Zaslav, and you'll still have Walter Hamada. And in his contract, he has maybe a year and a half left. And same thing with Toby Emmerich. You'll either see a buyout and allow him to go somewhere else, or you'll see somebody basically like Zaslav will name himself head of the studio until interim, and all these people will answer to them. You won't see them like I said, like Jerry Maguire, where he gets fired, like that. But you'll see them kind of transitioned out.
Right.
But that's definitely going to happen. You just don't come in with this kind of vision and spending $46 billion and without having your own people in place. I've never seen a merger of this size that way.
And I'm just going to ask this out loud because I'm not sure if he might be out on deliveries or something like that. Jarbo, are you driving? Like, I'm not sure if you're doing like Texas Beach.
Yes,
or something
he is
like
out.
that, so
he is out.
I just wanted to
right now.
Okay, so in that case, I wasn't sure if you were able to read my comment there. I was saying Danny Garcia is one of, along with Dwayne Johnson and a couple other people, is one of the key investors in the 2023 revival of the XFL.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
it has
because what happened was McMahon brought it. Yeah, McMahon brought it back in 2019, They started their first season in February of 2020. We all know what happened there. But basically, no, really the only issue was the pandemic, was that kind of issue with funding, because you're trying to get a fresh football league off the ground. The pandemic hit 4 weeks or 3 weeks into the season. So they had to just like fold the thing temporarily. Like they had to like end the season prematurely. And but okay. for those who might not have watched it but do watch sports, I watched those 3 weeks. I watched a bunch of games out of them. The product was good. It was just, again, the money just kind of like they couldn't monetize it because no one could go to the stadiums. They couldn't make the revenue back that McMahon was doing.
There's another problem too, and it wasn't just, it's in the same problem they hit the first time too, is when you have the NFL, they're a monolith.
Yeah.
They pretty much, if you deal with another league like that, even though it's not a competing one, the same thing, they consider all ad revenue to be theirs. And so when you're trying to do something like this and get TV networks on board, you're talking about ad revenue, and the NFL,
it seemed like they had crossed they crossed their T's and dotted their I's, because it was only going to run. It wasn't going to compete with the NFL with regards to the time of the season. Like it was literally because it was going to run like I think it was 8 weeks and then do like the championship, or like the divisional championships and then the championship. So it would have been I think 11 weeks in total. So it wouldn't have cut into the NFL season. But it's what I care about. But like the thing for me was go ahead, William.
The NFL, I don't think would have seen it that way. I agree with you, but there's just so much money there.
And the XFL did the revival actually for those that care. They did a lot of good. They did some kind of dumb things, which was like it was written into the contractual agreements with the players. Like you couldn't take any sort of political statements at all, like anything like this was
finally
a response to everybody taking the knees. But one of the other good things that was good for, like I said, shout out to as a Canadian where it's legal up here, was they said in season there would be no there would be still occasional random drug testing for PEDs and so forth, but there would be no testing for cannabis.
Wow!
And so that was a good thing. There was the introduction of a sky judge, like where there was kind of like a formal sort of on high call where like they could kind of supersede the refs on the field and things like that in the case of controversial calls and things like that. It was it looked good. The team that I think had one of the teams that had the best sort of idea going on was the DC Defenders, because they got lucky, because as opposed to everybody else in the league who decided to either go into their local college stadium, or in the case of the St. Louis Battlehawks, they actually went into the Edward Jones Dome, which is where the St. Louis Rams played when they were in town. And the DC Defenders played at Audi Field, which is where DCU United, which is their Major League Soccer team, played. So it's a much smaller stadium. So if you watch... Am I back?
No.
Yeah, you kind of froze. Who froze? Miriam.
Okay. Oh, good.
I never know.
I think it was me.
Yeah. I'm going to pause you there, though, with the XFL shit, because I really don't give a shit.
That's fine.
I want to talk to William about a couple of things. And you. I'm literally lost when you talk about the XFL, because last I checked, Vince McMahon ran it, and that's the last time I checked in on it. So, God, you hate me now, right?
No, read the private chat.
William, I know that you only have, because you're on your break and shit. I would like to hear your thoughts about movie making and secrets in movies. So big reveals and spoilers from like scoopers and stuff like that. We can start getting into that conversation now. Look, even like the next couple topics I have that are things like Benedict Cumberbatch is worried about the Doctor Strange sequel. He's worried he's having second album fear and second album syndrome. And like movies of that caliber, right? Multiverse of Madness, No Way Home, Endgame, Infinity War, Star Wars, anything that's a Star Wars. Are we in a time where nothing can be kept secret anymore?
Yeah. Because
and is that going to hurt media?
No, it's going to be an adjustment because what the thing about even with Endgame, well, there's a lot of people who knew what happened to Tony Stark before they went and saw the movie, and it didn't hurt. It sucks. I'm not saying I agree with it. It sucks, but you have too many platforms. You have too many people involved in movie making themselves that have access to platforms, and then you have the marketing aspect of themselves. I know we were going through some theories yesterday, but still, even if you don't go that deep, there are certain things that studios are going to want out about their movie to legitimize it. Like for a lot of people who are like, I'm on the fence about Spider-Man, but Tobey Maguire's my Spider-Man. Okay, you just got their money yesterday with that little marketing ploy because you saw him in it. So I think we're done as far as that. I mean, it's the movie's just going to have to be really, really good. You're going to want to have to see it no matter what. But as far as being surprised anymore, we're in this age of technology. I think it's naive to think that that's going to continue. Unless you go through the work of writing every scene that you do, you write 3 or 4 or 5 alternatives so that nobody who's distributing these things ever knows what's the right one to put out. But that's a lot of work.
I know, and I've said this before. I've said when it comes to certain types of media, they need to kind of do like especially that would be a good way to kind of start fixing your leaks, because what you can do is you can go, all right, person A, I'm telling fact 1. Person B, I'm telling fact 2. And you do that for whoever you think is your leaker, and then you put your ear to the ground. And you see,
but you have to film these things, though. That's the problem. Is when you film these things, you have to film different scenes, because even if it's not just word of mouth, somebody gets their hands on a scene or a pic, then it's out there like that. So I just
and then Endgame was also a weird situation, because you had literally the Russos on Twitter said after 24 hours, go for it. Like when it came to discussing spoilers on Twitter freely, like there's a tweet you can find of that. So that was sort of a bad example, but like it's in that case. But I understand your point.
Well, like
hi Matt.
Yes, and welcome Matt Jarbo to the stream. Matt, what were your thoughts on Campia yesterday? Because I know you had a lot to say about it. On Twitter. What a bogus move on him. What a bimbo move on his part.
Sorry, guys.
He might be having a little issue. I think he's in his car, guys. So just let him kind of do his thing. William,
all right, okay. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll have to mute myself quite a bit, but as I'm driving. But yeah, Campia. You know what? I'm going to cover that whole thing more tonight, because I had a personal thing yesterday. But Campia absolutely screwed the pooch for himself on that deal, because he bragged about having more images.
Right.
Somebody in a motion capture suit.
And I have to say this, Jarbo. I have to say this with regards to your thumbnail about John Campia. I'm not lying. I laughed so hard I cried. Like it was one of the funniest things I have seen you do.
Dude, the wanted sign, I shared it on a show of mine.
The fact that you made it in 5 minutes was just what made it all the sweeter.
Did you type out the sentences and stuff on the wanted poster?
Yeah, so how I did that was I Googled FBI most wanted, and I found a PDF of some Russian guy wanted for like hacking, and I downloaded the PDF, and then I converted it to a Word document, went in there, rearranged all the text, and then I saved that as a PDF, and then I converted that to a JPEG in order to then put that into Photoshop to add in the pictures. So it was a process, but it took like 5 minutes to make, and it was professional.
Awesome.
That was one of the best things I've ever seen. I had to share it on the show because I was literally crying and like peeing my pants laughing over it, because the text in it was just so spot on. I love the part of what it say is something posing as film critic. What was it?
I one of them was all says greetings and salutations like the worst person ever. Conspiracy of being wanted in
conspiracy.
Being a douche, like I don't know. I thought it'd be pretty funny. I mean,
It was so
I got no beef with the guy, but I think he is kind of a blowhard, and
dude, he's such a tool. Come on.
so I mean, like I thought it was funny. Other people found it to be funny. That was good, but I still think the fact that he was talking about like, look at Tobey Maguire's junk, is such a me thing to say.
Very. I'm glad that got clipped, by the way. I'm glad someone clipped it. So what's going to be the repercussions for actions like this now?
Nothing.
Because that's what William said.
Nothing at all.
So are we all like? Because I know William's stance on it. He thinks that it came down from the Sony side. At least, I think, right?
Yeah, somewhere higher up in Sony. That's what they do. They either have lax security or they do stuff like this. They have a history. So,
Jarbo, where would you stand on that? Like, how did this happen? First off, if it's real,
I think it's real enough. It may not be like the final bit of it or whatever. Like the dining room scene is absolutely legit. Like, I think that's absolutely legit. And but the other Spider-Man could be a composite from something else or whatever. But I do think this came from somebody within Sony. I do think that they can. I think they probably sent it to John. They probably sent it to a lot of other people as well. And the other people didn't run with it, or John got it first or something. And then he, maybe knew that he got it first because he put a watermark on it. Like, he literally is admitting plagiarism when he says that, oh, yeah, I mean, I just wanted to make sure that if it got retweeted, people will know it came from me. It's like, so you're watermarking stolen artwork?
Yeah, pretty much.
Like,
that's what I didn't understand. That's what I didn't understand, because either way, he doesn't really paint himself in a good light by
so
watermarking it. Because either A, you're plagiarizing, or B, you're what's the other one? It's
misrepresenting it, or
misrepresentation. And there's so many ways that could go wrong. It's hard for me to believe that a guy who has paved the way for online movie talk and is one of the biggest names in it, no one told him, like, hey, this is a bad idea.
That's why I don't think nobody. That's why I think there's just too much of this. He knew what the repercussions were going to be. Nothing. He knew. He was assured in some way that there's nothing going to happen to him. I mean, nothing's going to happen to him.
So you don't think he'll lose his premieres or anything?
No, not at all.
If it was done, my opinion is, if it was done by Sony, like you two speculate, then there's no reason for him to lose anything.
Yeah, he's not going to.
Well,
but if it wasn't done by Sony, like if it wasn't, then that's one thing. But if it was done somewhere internally, I don't think he'll lose anything.
No, and who benefits? I always, like I said, I asked you yesterday, who benefits from that getting out? Who benefits from that hype? I'm like,
the executive level, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, look at it like this, right? Okay, I've mentioned this before, but the leak economy. And maybe I'm not using the terminology correct. I don't know. It's the best thing I can come up with. But look at it like this. Venom doubled its opening weekend estimates after that post-credit scene leaked out. So Sony absolutely knows that as much hype as there is for these projects, that if they are able to take them and what's the word I want to use here? If they're able to take them and push it out there privately, like they can more or less like claim ignorance or whatever to it, but they know it's only going to increase hype and it's only going to make them more money, is what I'm trying to say. And it works for Venom, and it's going to work for Morbius, and it's going to work for Spider-Man. So yeah, there's no reason. John would only benefit because he even bragged yesterday, 4,000 people were watching him on a live stream. Yeah, he normally only gets around like 1,800.
Yeah. It was at 5 at one point.
Oh, was that 5? Yeah. I mean, the last time he was that relevant was when Collider collapsed, and he ended up calling out Mark Hernandez over it. And then that was the big thing, is everyone went over to, because John
had him on. He had him on, remember?
Yeah, he had him on. That was a big thing.
Yeah, I remember all that. I mean, I watched John when he was doing AMC Movie Talk. Like as much as I dislike the guy, I still give him respect for being like a pioneer in the online movie community, right?
Yeah.
There's no denying that fact. Like, credit where credit is due. But that again, it begs the question for me. The way he's painting it was like, oh my God, this was an accident. I thought it was a Photoshop. Let's say that's true for just one moment. How a guy of this caliber, like, and I'm sure he has a producer or someone that's there helping with the show or knowledgeable about like what you can and can't do. No one told him like, hey, first off, don't watermark it. Second off, maybe let's try to like verify this before we put it out there. I guess if you guys are if you guys are right, then yeah, obviously
there's no reason to have that conversation.
Exactly, that nulls it. But it's just, it seems like this day and age, like going forward, it's only getting worse and worse with the spoiler community. Like you can't even when a movie that you're going or wanting to see is coming out, you should probably avoid social media because chances are it's gonna get spoiled to some degree. And
that's it's gonna be incumbent on the viewer to decide whether or not they still want to go to the movie going experience, because there's no way around that. It's really hard for a lot of people to get off of social media. Some people can do it, some people can't. And it's just the fact, like, if there's been a movie that I've been waiting to see, like Spider-Man: No Way Home or Dune or any other movie, and somebody spoils it, it's going to be up to me whether I want to go see the overall quality of the movie. Because me knowing the ending to a movie like Dune or Blade Runner or anything else doesn't take away the benefit of me going to see this movie. It sucks that I can't get the 100%, but the reality is, in 2021, it's going to be impossible.
Right. Yeah. I just don't like where we're going. It just seems like that would have been, and from the start, I've been saying that, saying that first off, I don't want to get my expectations up for these two to be in the film because I don't want to experience what I experienced with WandaVision. I need to temper my expectations these days, and it's getting harder and harder to do that. With all this stuff that keeps leaking. And I mean, look, legitimately a whole goddamn Spider-Man trailer leaked, like not even 2 months ago.
Hell, the movie will probably leak next week, knowing Sony.
Yeah.
I mean, remember when they got hacked and all those movies and stuff and emails, and so.
Oh yeah, we talked about that at the top of the show.
Yeah, I mean, it's welcome to modern technology. But hey, thanks for having me on. I gotta go ahead and head back to the grind. But yeah, man, it's as far as the Sony thing, in Campia was talking in a way that the tone I got from it was that he wasn't really worried about any repercussions.
It does seem like that. I mean, he looked a little nervous on his stream, but not too nervous. So
that was an act. That was absolutely an act.
You think so?
Yeah, that was an act.
Oh, yeah.
All right, Ty, thanks a lot, man.
All right, Will, we'll see ya.
Yeah.
You think that was an act?
Yeah. Yes. Oh, yeah. Come on. Come on. Like, I mean, look, he's been around long enough to know how PR works.
So you think him even looking a little bit nervous on his stream was to play into it?
Yes, because he was doubling down the night before on Twitter. He kept doubling down about everything, and then he went and he deleted those tweets, and then he's trying to act like he's like, no, he played the old. There's an internet meme of someone saying something and then getting called out, and then they go, I was only acting stupid.
Yeah, I know the one you're talking about.
Yeah, right. Like I'll keep the language PG, but you know the wording. I do. And it's like that's a big part of it. Is oh shit. Okay, sorry. I just got like this.
It's okay.
Got an order like to go take like 7-Eleven like an additional 8 miles away for like $6. I hit accept before I'm not doing that. No way, no how, man. Like I get some weird orders. I just get like, you get some late night 7-Eleven runs, and it's like take booze out to this campsite in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah. Nope. All set. Nope. Good to go. Wait. So on those sites, you can order candy bars at 7-Eleven.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Really?
Oh yeah. You can. It's weird. You can order alcohol. Like you can order like bottles of wine or beer or whatever else, but you can't order cigarettes.
Oh my God.
And for anything that is like a controlled substance or whatever, like I have to validate and verify their identification, and like because I take legal responsibility for the items. So it's like why can't I, someone order like a pack of smokes and I take them? I mean, but dude, when I was a smoker, oh my God,
that would have been clutch.
That would have been like, all my paycheck would go to like people delivering me smokes at 2 a.m. because I'm too lazy to go myself.
Yeah, dude. Like, for sure.
Like
for
all
sure.
those times I could work without cigarettes, having to bum off of customers.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
No, I'm not even kidding you. When we were so busy at the drive-in because we had the open box office, we had two lines. Yeah. People would come in smoking cigarettes, and I'd be jonesing for one, and I'd be like, "Hey, can I take a hit off your cigarette? I'll let your kids in for free." So they hand me their cigarette. I take a real big hit, inhale, exhale, and I would just like wait. I would just go, "How many 2 adults?" And there'd be like 4 kids. Like, all right, 2 adults, go on in. Have a good time, guys.
Thanks, man. Thanks, man. Much appreciated.
Dude, we got so much free food from people who realized if they brought us free food, they could get in for free.
Oh hell yeah!
People would like
this place still open?
This was a free economy. It's like you want free movies. What are you going to offer me?
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, right. Let's barter this bitch. Come on, what do you have that I need?
I literally had one night people offer to go and buy me cigarettes. If I kept the box office open for them an extra few minutes so they could go to the store and come back. So they bought me a 3-pack for free.
Oh.
So they gave me 3-pack. I was like, "Oh, you guys are great. Yeah, I'm not even going to charge you. Go on in."
That's what I'm talking about right there. See,
I missed that job.
Still good in the world. They're still good in the world.
You got to do it sometimes. You know what I mean? Like you got to do it. There was I'll tell you this, and then I do got a jet, but it's a really funny story. Back in 2005, we had a couple come on in, and the couple was coming in simply to find a place to be intimate with each other.
Uh-huh.
And so I asked him one night, I said, "Hey, are you guys in here doing what I think you're in here doing?" Because they would come on in, they would ask for whatever side is the slowest, and then they would be gone within about 45 minutes. They would exit out through the front for some reason. So I pretty much figured that they were doing something. And they told me like they're a couple, that they couldn't, that they didn't have a place to themselves. So they came to the drive-in, and that's where they were able to be alone. And I said, "You know what, guys, that's awesome. I'm going to let you guys in for free. You know what? Like, go, this one's on me. Okay. Like, go have fun."
Yeah.
Cause like, I get it. And so then about maybe a month later, the San Diego Union Tribune wanted to come down to do an interview about the drive-in. And I was the manager on duty that night. So I'm talking to the reporter, and we're having a good time and whatever. And he's like, "Okay, the interview is done. We're just BSing." And I tell him that story. And I'm thinking to myself, it's off the record because like the interview is over.
Right.
He printed it in the article. I don't know if you can find an archive of it still, but I swear it's up there. It's like Google like Matt Jarbo Santee Drive-In San Diego Union Tribune.
They named you.
Oh, I'm pictured in there. I'm pictured in the article.
He put you so far under the bus.
And so it was funny. It was funny because like, no, the article came out on July 3rd, 2005 is when the article came out in the paper. And people, we were super busy that night because people had read about it in the Union Trib. They brought the article with them. People wanted me to sign the article. Right. They loved it.
Oh,
well,
wow.
I got a call from my boss, and a little bit later, and he chewed me out because he was like, "What are you doing telling the newspaper that people come here to have sex? Like, we're not that kind of environment." And I'm all like, "Mike, dude, come on, man. Everyone knows people have sex at the drive-in. That's not even the thing." And he's like, "But we don't advertise it." I'm like, "Come on, our 3 rules where you can drink, smoke, or screw, just don't bother anyone else." Like, we literally lived by that principle. We don't care what you do, just leave other people alone. It's that simple.
Right.
And so he was like, he's cussing up a storm at me. And I had just become assistant manager a few months earlier. And I was at home, and my mom heard the yelling, and she's like, "Are you okay?" And I'm all like, "I think I probably just got fired." And she's like, "Oh, for what?" And I told her, and she's like, "You shouldn't have probably done that, but it's not." And then like 5 minutes pass, I get a call back again from the owner, and he's like, "So I owe you an apology. I used words I should not have used. I was just frustrated. with how you told the story. You're not in trouble. We value you as an employee. I should have spoken better. Right?
They didn't have another assistant manager, did they?
Yeah. They didn't want to hire anybody else. They didn't want to train anybody.
They noticed there was a spike in sales that day.
Yeah, people are here. I mean, I did a lot to help renovate that business, so he kissed my ass. But no, anyway.
Yeah, hey,
but
send
funny
me a link tonight too.
Yeah, I got to go back and find it. It might be in an archive somewhere.
No, I'm talking about your stream tonight.
Oh yeah. I'll be on a little bit later. I'm just out doing the delivery stuff right now. But what's funny was we had the news come down again a couple years later, and as soon as they got there, the owner gets on the walkie-talkie and he's like, "Okay, the reporter is here. Do not let Matt talk to him." Like I was barred. Anytime a news crew came down, I could not talk to them. Anytime a reporter came down, I was barred from speaking to the press ever again. It was the funniest stuff. But yeah, that's my story about that, guys. Hopefully y'all enjoyed that stuff. But
I did.
I gotta go pick up some teriyaki for some people.
All right. Yeah, send me a link for tonight.
I will. Yeah.
I don't have work until next Monday coming up, so
all right.
I'd like to say hello to everybody that I can.
Sure, and then give Ty all your money.
Yeah,
so
please.
Yeah.
It's a little slow tonight.
Yes.
I don't know. I think I planned to stream, and then I looked around and like everyone else is streaming now too. So
everyone's streaming. That's why I go really late at night.
Yeah, honestly, I'm gonna start looking into like because I'll tell you the story tonight about like what's really going on. But I just finally got into my Google account. Oh, actually, I was actually pretty pissed off at Jarvo that day that he tried calling me out on that. We'll talk later, actually.
I'm an asshole. All right. Like,
I can't wait to watch the VOD because I'll be asleep.
All right, guys. I will talk to you all later. Have yourself a good one. Thank you.
Drive safe, okay?
Peace out.
You didn't hear that. But yeah, all right. So I do want to get into we have two more we have two more topics that I have. What's Friday? Why is everyone saying Friday is going to be lit?
Disney Plus Day.
Oh, it's this Friday.
I think so. I think so, right, Gavin?
Is it this Friday? I thought it was Saturday. Maybe it is Friday. Okay, well, I'll be covering it, so I'll be here. Make sure you join Pop Culture Corner for Disney Plus Day. We can, it's going to be being live tweeted. So, come hang out with me and, maybe TW will be there. Who knows who's going to show up? Gavin, you're invited too, if you want. Come join me and we can hang out on a stream and kind of watch the news come in. We'll do what we did for CinemaCon, and kind of just update you as it happens so that it's all in one place for you. Right. Rather than like having to find the information scattered across the internet, just join us and we'll keep it moving and all centered in one place. If there are any trailers or any first looks or anything like that have come out, we'll play them here. We won't monetize the video or anything like that because we don't want to get taken down. So it's going to be a really fun day. So let's get into our last couple topics of the night after this. So, in a recent interview, Benedict Cumberbatch is I totally messed up that, by the way. Great job, Ty. Benedict Cumberbatch is worried about Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, saying, "I'm worried about second album syndrome and hoping Multiverse of Madness can live up to its predecessor." Strange has appeared in the MCU 4 times, counting a appearance in Thor Ragnarok, as well as Infinity War Endgame, and his first solo film, which raked in around $678 million at the box office. Strange has gone on to be an integral part of the Marvel shared universe, and Doctor Strange is next set to appear in Spider-Man No Way Home, releasing exclusively to theaters on December 17th. What are your thoughts on Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness? And do you think that it's going to, I mean, let's face it, this is definitely like if you take the Marvel slate, a lot of people have this one circled because of the implications that have led up to it so far. Things are pointing towards that film as being like kind of a shepherd for the multiverse. So yes, a lot of eyes are going to be on this film. A lot is going to be riding on it in terms of the direction the MCU takes. Starting with Spider-Man and then continuing with this film. So I understand where he's coming from, but Sam Raimi's directing it. The guy knows what he's doing. And Benedict Cumberbatch, I think, is born to play the role. I'm not sure why he's as worried as he is. And I'm sure he's fine. It's maybe a little taken out of context, but what do you think about this?
I'm interested. I definitely need to kind of see the article to kind of get a bit more context, because I know I kind of just caught a little bit of it. I think when like you might have tweeted something out about it, but that's I hope the film is good. Like you said, Raimi knows how to do weird. If there's someone who knows how to do weird, it's Sam Raimi. This is the guy who gave us the.
Raimi's wanted to direct a Doctor Strange movie for a long time. In Spider-Man, they he even names dropped Doctor Strange. When J. Jonah Jameson and the other guy are trying to come up with names for Spider-Man in the paper. So the other guy says, "Oh, Doctor Strange," and then J. Jonah Jameson says, "That's good, but taken." And like there's a reason why they picked that name to drop. And Raimi's been really, really wanting to direct a Strange film for a long time, going back as far as that. And now it's like almost like he willed it into existence. Because all of a sudden things didn't work out with Scott Derrickson and the vision for what they wanted the Multiverse of Madness to be, because Derrickson wanted to be a straight horror movie, but and probably was going to use Nightmare, and I think that would have been so cool. They might still use Nightmare, but it's not going to be a 100% horror film. Like this is going to be a movie that is a cornerstone of the next phase of the MCU.
I think that seems like a valid point, especially when you've got No Way Home's coming out first, and that's going to introduce the really show craziness in a multiverse context in a way that kind of has a sort of a substance to it in a live action sense, in a way that like What If kind of didn't. It showed us first like what you can do with a multiverse, but this is something else entirely.
Yeah. 1 second. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I had to put it on the chart.
Yes, Adam Silvestri says we'll see how No Way Home goes.
Yeah. So, and that's basically what I'm saying is first off, let's see how No Way Home is taken, right? I can only imagine the pressure that one would feel having a film. So like Thor: Love and Thunder is going to be really big, right? That's going to be really big. Guardians 3 is going to be really big. Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness may just be the biggest film of the current slate, in my opinion. Yes, No Way Home is of course is huge. I do think that Doctor Strange 2 is probably a little bit above that because of what we might potentially see. We're talking different versions of characters, multiversal characters. We're talking setup for Secret Wars, like Secret Invasion, all of it. This movie, yes, it's definitely going to be a pivot point for what we know to be the MCU to date. And that's, I can only imagine that's going to be scary for the star of the film. But Doctor Strange 1 pulled in almost $680 million. Doctor Strange 2, I'm saying that cracks $1 billion. Easy. And I do have I have a video that's going to be coming out tomorrow. It's a pre-recorded video that I did about the Eternals ending and how I think Gore the God Butcher is go. I don't want to give everything away, but it's actually a really dope script, and I can't wait to record it. So, and it will come out tomorrow night. But Gore the God, I'm basically connecting Gore the God Butcher, Airsham, The Living Tribunal, Thor: Love and Thunder as a whole, and Eternals. So it's and then Harry Styles' character. So and Adam Warlock. Sorry. So it's a pretty big bubble of connection, and I'll tell you how I think that story is going to continue. It's a really good. I wrote the whole script today, so it's going to be really fun.
I'm not gonna be hearing the mention of Pepe Sylvia in this video as well. Apparently,
no.
Wait,
no, nope. But
Pepe Sylvia was the dude that Charlie is holding the mail from in that episode of Always Sunny when he's snapped and he's got the boards around the room.
Oh, okay. I was like, I don't know who he's talking about. I'm just gonna play it off like I do. But that is yes. So that's basically how I looked coming up with the script. I had cigarette in my mouth, and drawing on the board. But no, I make really good valid points. And the way it connects. Basically, I'll tell you this. I'm pretty sure Gore the God Butcher is going to try to murder the Celestials.
That's gutsy.
Yeah. So that's where I'm going with this. So Gore is gonna have. That's what Gore wants. He wants to murder the Celestials because they're they're gods, and he's the God Butcher. He's obviously gonna have a run-in with Thor and and you'll see how I set it up. This is probably if I was to say this is probably the best pre-recorded script that I've written to date, and the way it comes together.
And I'm excited for that. As far as Gore the God Butcher, if you guys want to have some fun reading something, go check out Jason Aaron and Asad Rabich's Thor: God of Thunder book, which came out. Which, for those who haven't read it, is really awesome. It takes place in 3 time periods. It takes place in the past, when Thor is walking around with the Vikings, hanging out, being an actual god amongst them. The present, when you have the present story, and then you have the future, when Thor is the last god left. He's the last Asgardian. And it's really interesting to see Gore across that entire story. The art is just gorgeous. And I'm really excited for your video because the fact that we're getting a movie with Gore the God Butcher
and it's
blew my mind. I know.
That's dope.
I will admit I was hyped for I am hyped for Christian Bale, but there was the other character he was rumored to play that I kind of wish he was playing.
I know. I know. We might be seeing him soon too, though.
Oh, I hope so too. Because you've got 3 of the Annihilator, or what? The Annihilators hopefully will come by at some point because it's at some point we'll see.
Yeah, I would. I can only assume. I can it'd be hard to get around it at least. But our last topic of the day, guys, is coming up now. Speaking of world eaters, so
it's a terrible thing to talk about me.
What?
So that's a terrible thing to say about me.
We had a conversation yet. By the way, if you haven't already watched last night's live stream, definitely check it out. One of the most fun conversations I've had in a while, and it was very, very engaging. I definitely think it was probably the most fun I've had in the last month or so. So definitely go and check out last night's video. We talked a lot about Galactus, and ironically, I couldn't even make this up. We had this whole conversation about Galactus last night, and then this today, in a comment, Chloe, and all of a sudden Galactus was trending today, and I look and I'm like, no fucking way. So Chloe Zhao goes on record after being asked and says, "I think the door is very much open to world-eating villains." Teased Eternal director Chloe Zhao, saying if the fans wanted it, we could see the Eternals staring down a threat like Galactus in future endeavors. And oh my, did I get giddy. Because first off, thank you, Anthony Beltre. By the way, guys, thank you for donating to the show anytime you do it. And definitely consider becoming a member for as low as $2.99, and it goes up from there. All money goes back into the production and allows us to do giveaways. We did our first giveaway, and I gave away 2 copies of Zack Snyder's Justice League on 4K, which is pretty expensive, actually. 4K is pretty expensive. So that was my first giveaway. I gave 2 copies away. And this month, I'm going to be giving something else away. And then also, I'm going to start doing members-only streams and stuff now that I'm back and I got into my YouTube account. But, so the implications. So what did you say? Will Quicksilver be back after Doctor Strange 2? No. Not the Quicksilver we know. Not, what's his name? God.
Ralph Boner.
No. The like, are you talking about the original Quicksilver? Like the God, what's his name? From
oh my gosh, Aaron Taylor Johnson.
Yeah, Aaron Taylor Johnson. Aaron Taylor Johnson is prepping for Kraven most likely, and I think the door's closed on Quicksilver at this point. But that's not to say that we couldn't see what's his name come back.
Evan Peters. Anthony was talking about Evan Peters.
Oh, it was. Yeah, so I would say the chances are pretty good about the chances are very, very good seeing Quicksilver back after Doctor Strange 2. Actually, maybe even sooner than that. So, who knows? I would definitely keep an eye out on some post-credit sequences in the future. I do think that there's some surprises. So, yeah, definitely. I would definitely I'd say so. So, yeah, I mean, listen, Galactus is one of my favorite characters ever. Like, there's just no way to get around it. Galactus is absolutely one of my favorite villains. He's typically used as like a tool or a weapon. But now that we have the Celestials in the MCU, I really, really, I would not assume that Galactus wouldn't be too far behind. So if anyone doesn't know who Galactus is, 1 second. If you guys don't know who Galactus is, I'm just going to give you a kind of a quick rundown on what he is, what he's about, and why this is so important to me and to other fans of the character. Because basically, he's formerly like immortal. Like he was a man at one point. And Galactus is like a cosmic entity. He consumes planets to sustain like the what would you call it? His life force.
I think that'd be a good sort of description of it.
Okay. And Kirby. God, I had this whole story in my head. I had the whole thing in my head. So Kirby wanted to introduce a character that like kind of broke away from the archetype and the standard, comic book villain. So Galactus was depicted as like a god figure who feeds basically by draining living planets of their energy. He's morality, judgments, like he does everything. Because Arishem was kind of depicted the way I thought. What Arishem was it seemed like Arishem, especially at the end of Eternals, it was like he had to answer to someone. Like there was a higher authority that he had to answer to. Because like, why wouldn't he just judge the Eternals right on the spot then? I think he answers to Galactus to some degree. I think that he's bound by something and is reporting either to the Living Tribunal or to Galactus in some form or fashion. I would be surprised if it was Galactus. I would definitely maybe more lean towards like the Living Tribunal, et cetera. But but basically, Galactus was created to kind of supersede the normal comic book villain. He gained his cosmic abilities by passing near a star, and it was kind of like further developed that the origin of the character lived during the previous universe that existed prior to the Big Bang. So the character is large, obviously. Like if you were to look at him, he's the celestial size. He's absolutely enormous. And the way he's depicted in the comic books is really fun. We kind of got a little bit of a tease about it, like not a tease of Galactus, but in the What If series, the Vision Ultron thing, like this picture, that's Galactus right there. That's 100. That is 100% Galactus. That was super nodded. That was a direct reference to Galactus, if I've ever seen. And just the way he feeds on universes and planets. He's typically the Silver Surfer somewhere around. So I think this could be really cool for the MCU with the addition of Fox and the characters that Fox owned. 100%. If we're getting Galactus, Silver Surfer is not far behind. Didn't they try to do Galactus in Fantastic Four?
He was kind of like hinted at. It was in the second Fantastic Four movie from like 2007 or whatever. This is the closest I think we've gotten.
Is a director saying yes?
Yeah, to potentially getting Galactus in a movie in like 15 years, and especially considering
he was definitely in Rise of the Silver Surfer.
I'm saying he was, but I mean like it was not.
But it was like a smoke monster thing.
Yeah, it was a weird thing. Like he was there, but I mean it was just like not like Galactus. And especially considering we got Fantastic Four around the corner. Like I think that's a Phase 4 movie, isn't it?
Yeah, oh yeah.
So yeah, then I would be unsurprised to see if like what movie was it? Yeah, it was the Avengers, right? That had Thanos at the end. I'd be unsurprised to see them do something like that with Galactus at the end of the Fantastic Four movie as a wink and nudge to the old movie.
That would be dope. Because like for instance, Galactus is one of the few villains that kind of defies the definition of a villain. Because the character is he's compelled by his hunger rather than like a genuine desire to rule the planet. He's different. He's just different, and I think it'd be kind of cool to tweak the comics a little because the Celestials and Galactus don't really get along. But I think it'd be kind of cool if they tweaked it a little bit, and maybe Arishem is bringing Arishem answers to someone like Galactus or the Living Tribunal. Because for me, I don't understand why he wouldn't have judged them right there. Like for instance, we know that the Skrulls, like they were deviants and they evolved into apex predators, right? So the memory technology that we saw in Captain Marvel, I think is celestial technology. Like that's because we saw it in Eternals, right? The memories were stored in that little hive thing. So
whatever you say, man.
I think that's what they're bringing. Where they're going to bring the Eternals.
No, the reason I say whatever you say is I also was on the list of people who haven't seen the film.
Oh shit!
It's okay. I'm going to see. I'm literally going to see it in 2 days. This is not a problem.
Nope. I am cutting that conversation off. Sorry. For some reason I thought you had seen it. That's totally my fault.
No problem.
Well, I'm so sorry. I was gonna get really deep too, so I'm glad you cut me off there. I was gonna give my whole theory about it. So I'll stop there. Tell you what, I'll make a separate video of my theory on how the Skrulls, the Deviants, the Celestials, Arishem, and Galactus are all tied together, and what that could mean for the future of the Eternals franchise.
And once I see the movie, I shall make sure to leave a like and all that stuff.
All right. Yeah. Caden popped in. How you doing, Caden? Okay. All right. Never mind.
Huh?
How you doing?
I'm good. I was just making my prediction calendar for all this Disney Plus stuff.
Yeah, Patrick. Zack Snyder made me care about Superman too. Not a lot of people really cared for Superman, unless you were like a diehard Donner fan. Zack reinvented the character Superman. He gave it a real life.
This whole thing about Batman.
What?
People had like a lot of thoughts about Batman when Man of Steel came out.
Yep.
People thought of Superman, but it wasn't like the number one superhero anymore. Batman took over when Nolan trilogy came out.
Exactly.
He was like number 2 at that point, and then but it was like if you're 2 and lower, then you're just forgotten about until and then Zach reinvented Superman,
like reinvigorated audiences too for the character, and I thought that was so cool because Superman. A lot of people don't really like Superman because he's wicked OP. Like he's overpowered, right? He's like, we know he's gonna win in the end, right? Like we know it.
Yeah,
it's how he gets there. That's what
it's how
we have to care about as an audience.
Yeah, and also what's cool is that there's so many weaknesses that Superman has that hasn't been tapped yet. And
like I would love to see him go up against Brainiac.
And to go up and like what The Rock was saying, that one of his more powerful weaknesses is not kryptonite, it's magic.
Magic, yeah. So a lot of people think he's like, so magic doesn't affect him like it would affect a mortal.
No,
it just affects him more than it would. But how do you say it? It affects him. It does hit him.
Like, it hits him, but it's more weakening than kryptonite is to him.
Right.
Like if you were to stab him with kryptonite, he's weak. But if you were to zap him with magic, then he's weaker than he would be. Like he might have a day or two with no powers,
Right. And
depending on what type of magic hit him,
Right.
Yeah. It also depends on the magic too.
And listen, I just want to pop on this Patrick comment here. I was, you can literally find a video, multiple streams, where I watched. I had seen that first promotional video for Superman and Lois. I ripped Superman and Lois so hard. I was like, this is going to be trash, another CW flop, yada, yada, yada. I got bored during the pandemic, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to watch it. And it was good. I admit it. It's not great. It's not a great Superman story like Man of Steel is. And then the subsequent films that came after it, like that arc of Superman is by far my favorite. But Superman and Lois does a good job of telling a story about like a small, humble family that is trying to be normal against all the odds.
This story I like. I really liked this side of Superman because now that we had John in the comics, we now obviously have Jonathan and Jordan in the show. I'm really interested. I like the family dynamic. I'm interested to see where the story goes because it is still in Smallville, as far as I know, because I was on episode 6 or something like that. It's still in Smallville. So there's really not so it's kind of interesting to see how we're going to go out of there. Are they going to have to leave Smallville? Are they going to, it's going to be bigger and bigger threats? What are they doing with it? I'm interested. The one thing I do want to see is if John ever gets a proper super suit, because I haven't seen if he has or not. I want to see him wear some variation of the 90s Superboy costume because I love that costume. I know it's real 90s, but if you update it, make it a little more modern, give him a leather jacket and give him as opposed to the one piece, give him shirt and boot, pants and boots or something like that. I think you could, and put sunglasses on or something like that to cover his eyes.
Right.
This
is this comment right here is exactly what I've said. So I think that the CW has an issue with the season lengths. Because nowadays, 10 years ago, 21 to 23 episodes is a typical season for a network television show. It has since dropped down to, I think the average is maybe 8 to 10 episodes per season. The thing is, people oh, well, no, I want more episodes. Not really. That's not always the best thing, as we've seen time and time again. You cut the season in half, and you have double the money to put into it. So if you are going to do 21 episodes at this budget, well, all right, slice 11 off and put that money from those 11 episodes into these 10 and look at what you can do. And I think Superman and Lois did a great job of because me and Caden have talked, or Caden and I have talked about it. Like the Flash, the lighting is so bad that it makes it look so corny.
It's like, I think with the CW shows, it's majority of the onset and the post-production stuff. It's not really the pre-production. It's mostly the post-production process with the lighting on how they light the visual effects.
Right, like Stargirl and Superman and Lois, you could tell that they changed the lighting and they gave it like a darker filter.
Yeah.
And it works so well.
Yeah.
It also helps when they have the HBO Max budget.
Exactly.
Like Stargirl, Batwoman, and Superman and Lois all have this HBO Max budget, and they all benefit from it.
And they, I agree.
But with the Flash, again, it's all about lighting. That's if they got the lighting correct, then you can pass the writing for TV writing. You can pass a lot of these things for TV. Yeah.
Like you remember in the past, the season that just wrapped, and then they started the new one. No, maybe when did what's his name come back? Godspeed, and they did like the lightning sabers.
Yeah,
that looked so bad.
Yeah,
so bad.
It was because of the lighting. They had, because again, you have to remember, they have to remember when the scene takes place. It's not during the early morning when it's like about to be light. It's taken during midnight, so it's really dark. So those lightning sabers should be the only thing that exudes light, and the lighting source that is above them. That's it.
Yeah.
Hold on, we're pulling this stupid fight up because that's how bad it is.
We're pulling the stupid fight.
I just want to show everybody that like this is what the CW is passing out. Hold on, just continue talking for a second while the ad plays.
Yeah. It's like a lot of things. It's major the lighting. It is.
I agree completely, because after we had that talk about lighting and the Flash, I went back and watched an episode and I was like, yep, it's the lighting. That's what makes it look so terrible, because it's like cartoony.
If you look at Godspeed right now, he's lit up like as if it's daytime.
Right.
But then if you look at the Flash, he's in the Flash lighting is good, but the Godspeed lighting is just like, it looks like he's in daytime.
Yeah, and it doesn't make any sense.
It looks like
where's the light from that?
It looks like they added him in post.
Yeah, like look at the ship thing, right? Like the thing that's hovering next to his head.
The satellite.
Why is that so lit up from those tiny lights?
Exactly.
It doesn't make any sense. Here we go. Let's watch the worst speedster fight you'll ever see.
Oh, like if you go back to his back,
what is his back?
Yeah, because there's like a full on.
There you go. Yeah, click. There you go.
So why is there lighting? Okay, the light is on him. Back is fine. Lighting on the Flash side, whatever. But then the lighting kind of stops near where Reverse Flash is. But then the lighting starts a little bit again after. Like you kind of see like there's a light source right there, and then again right there. But the light shouldn't reach that far.
Right. It's completely off. But all right. So yeah, as you can see it. I mean, it's pretty.
Thank God it's over.
It's pretty bad. It's pretty bad as a whole. The lighting is just like, sometimes the show can actually be pretty interesting. The dialogue subpar, but overall,
the dialogue, again, it's TV dialogue that sometimes can be very TV, like very TV.
I'm gonna say 4 words which will trigger a bunch of like fans of the show or people who dislike these. You ready?
The first time
we are the Flash.
The
first time they mentioned it was fine because you get the context, but then they kept on overplaying that line.
You kept going. That's the problem.
Yeah,
I get the first time it made sense.
Dude, no. I understand that we're all PC. I get it, right? Like I get it. But Iris is the worst in that show. They absolutely took her character and made it so far over the top. anytime she's on and anytime Candace Patton's on screen, I fast forward it because it's so overbearing. She like Kiersey Clemens. I was so welcoming to Kiersey Clemens because that's her name, right? Yeah. Because I knew that anything had to be better than Candace's portrayal of Iris and how they write that character. That character, it's like there was literally a scene in the new season where Candace or Iris tells Barry after the mirror mask, the mirror lady, what's her name?
Eva.
Where they're about to rap on Eva as a villain. And after she's murdered tons of people, blown buildings up, you name it, she's done it. Iris West looks at Barry and says, "No, I want to help her." And like, I need to go, like, the way it happens, like, first off, the lady would have just daggered her with a slice of mirror.
There was a twist that like that it wasn't really Eva, it was like the mirror version of her this whole time.
I know.
It was just like, huh?
Like,
it was like I
can't take it.
Started off so good with that arc, and then they ended like it's like the thing. It's like all about the drop. You rise, and then it's all about the drop. If you don't drop correctly, then you can ruin it.
And like after Crisis, you know, I as soon as they made Barry the paragon of love, I was like, oh my God, I know exactly where this is going. Like I already know where it's going. And now Iris, now she knows that it's because of her that Barry is who he is. And dude, it's too much. It's too much. They took the character of the Flash, who's a fun, lighthearted, romantic, you know, et cetera, character, and they've spun it so out of control, and there's like 100 teammates now. Everyone has superpowers or is going to get superpowers. There's 112 Tom Cavanaughs. Dude, the show is just so terrible. It's so bad.
You know what, in my opinion, you know what they should have done, and this is my humble opinion, they should have at least temporarily ended the Flash. They should have honestly ended all the shows in one go. Put Crisis.
This is what I look like watching the Flash.
Yeah, put Crisis at the end and vaporize Barry like he was vaporized in Crisis. Do that. And then you have, like, the universe collapses, everything expands again. The day, woohoo, day saved, right? Fade to black, fade back up. My name is Wally West, and I am the fastest man alive. Foom, have Wally West become the Flash. That's what I thought they should have done. And because I really liked Wally West, and I can't believe I'm forgetting his name. Oh my gosh, Keenan Lonsdale.
Yeah,
and he was
great.
They all want him. Like, it's just, again, it's like one of those things where it's like, because Keenan Lonsdale, you know, he's an artist, he's a music artist, and he also is an executive producer, like on one show on Hulu, from the movie Love, Simon. It's called Love, Victor, and like he pops up on there sometimes. Okay. It's like, it's one of those things where like you can tell that they all want him back, but then at the same time, it's like, do they though? It's like,
right.
Like they mention him once. They mention him once. Oh, he's in some town.
City, yeah.
And then
he's in Keystone, right?
When he came back, he said, "Oh, I fought Starro." Like he literally said, like Starro was first mentioned in any property was in the Flash, and then because Wally West and two other superheroes in San Francisco or wherever he was.
I think it was Keystone.
Keystone, yeah, it was in Keystone that he fought Starro, and I think it was like, and then he came back and was like, oh yeah, like I fought this big starfish, and
yeah,
it was
I remember.
Hell of a month or whatever, and
yeah,
and like his teacher was also a speedster, but we never met the teacher, and people were like, oh, it's Max Mercury, and everyone was like, yeah, it's Max Mercury, but they never explained who he is. and then like, and it's just
It
like
just
it's
had
tragic.
so much potential.
It's tragic.
It's so much potential, and it's just like every time with this show.
Like it was like clearly an open for him to have his own show, but then again, it wasn't.
Yep.
It was just like, oh, this is clearly open to have his own show, but it wasn't at all.
Right.
And when Jessie Quick got a costume, and they just gave her the trajectory costume, but with the Flash, like I'm like, look at her Liberty Bell costume in the comics, especially now that like what's her name, Violet Bean dyed her hair blonde for a film. I'm like, literally just give her, especially with her being very 30 inspired. I'm like, have her run around in that because it looks awesome and fits, and it just was so strange that they just gave her this. And if anything, it probably would have been cheaper because it's like khakis, leather boots, and a long sleeve blue shirt and leather gloves with a bell with a crack in the shape of a lightning bolt.
It was more cheaper to reuse a costume than.
That's a fair point. That's a very fair point.
Right.
Because also you have to. I think when they introduced her and had her costume was also during the time when there was a potential of having a strike that almost happened like 2 weeks ago. So it was like
that's a very good point. That's also a very fair point.
That's the thing with some of these shows. Like some of these shows, like they have their seasons where the season, like these last 2 seasons, like I'll say this. Yeah, so this upcoming season, last season, were all, and the part of the season before, were all products of COVID, and then season 2 and parts of 3. 2 was fine. 3 was okay because it was also, again, there was a possibility of a producers and writers strike during that time. So it's like they have such bad luck on timing of their productions, like horrible timing. And
so this is what they made her look like.
Yeah.
This is what they could have done.
It's not difficult. Like, I mean, it just looked so cool. And like, you could have, like I said, again, the costume doesn't look bad, but I'm like, it
doesn't look bad. It's just, it's not
Jessie Quick.
Yeah, no, I agree. All right, guys, we're going to wrap up. I'm tired. And I started thinking about Iris West on The Flash. I lost all my motivation.
Well, we also handled all the topics, I think, that you wanted to talk about tonight.
We did.
Anyway, so.
We did. Actually, so there was another acquisition, apparently. So Weta Digital was sold to Unity, the game engine company, for $1.8 billion.
Huge on what they are doing with that. They're making it open to basically everyone.
Right.
Where everyone can access, basically, because Unity has a program that's free, and where you can access their gaming models and stuff. But with Weta Digital, now you can access like their models from Weta's digital models, and also it's not only open to public, it's also still open to Marvel and DC and stuff that use it. And it was like hold on, let me see. Weta Digital. It was 1.6 billion.
Just for the copy and paste there, bud.
Literally copy and pasted what you told me.
Oh, okay.
I have no skin in this game for video games.
It's fine. It's fine. Yeah. I'm just I find it funny, but it is an interesting story. It is a really interesting story.
Weta Digital, but Weta Digital is now open to pretty much everyone to use. So it's like,
wait, can I use it?
Yeah, you can use it.
Open sourced?
Yeah.
Ooh. Crazy.
Like it's next, like I think they mentioned in their like trailer announcement thing that they're partnering up with Meta to reinvent all the Meta stuff for Facebook, the metaverse or whatever.
Talking metaverse? He's going to be involved in Weta Digital now?
No, it's going to be why are you throwing things?
Not that Meta. Meta, aka Mark Zuckerberg.
Okay.
Marka? Did I say Marka?
Yes, the lizard guy, yeah.
The lizard guy.
Yeah, he's definitely from a different planet. He's got to be from a different planet, right?
He's from the Earth core. He's
with Doomcock's no good cousin,
great grandfather. Because remember, Doomcock is from the future.
He's the future ruler of Earth. Yes.
I'm the future ruler of Earth, and I am a white guy from the south.
It's one thing. Okay, I said this to Gerbo one time. I was like, "How does okay?
Why report rumors if you're from the future?
How is he from the quote unquote future and know nothing of what's gonna happen? Why does he need Hollywood spies? He should know all.
My guess is it's probably at some point
he's lost his memory.
Got nuked.
He lost his memory.
Lost his memory via. It's like kind of like Doom Patrol. He lost his memory due to time travel. It's a condition of time travel. Like it's something that happens to you after you travel to the past or the future. You forget who you are, and you kind of like pick up pieces. So he's figuring it out as he goes. That's why he's always wrong and changes the goalposts, and then he's right. Okay. That's why it makes sense.
Okay.
Doomcock is God.
You're a watcher of football, Ty. You're a watcher of football.
Yes, I am a Las Vegas Raiders fan.
Keeps moving the goalposts.
Yep. God. All right.
Yes.
I had fun tonight. I had fun tonight.
Doomcock keeps moving the goalposts, but reality. Yeah. Doomcock keeps moving the goalposts, and reality is the kicker, and the kicker is Adam Vinatieri. You guys froze. Well, I froze, I guess.
You froze. Because
they can, but they'll still use We Digital. They use a lot of companies. Because they also owned by Disney, and Disney works with ILM, and ILM works with Lucasfilm on their Star Wars stuff. So ILM, We Digital, and one company I'm forgetting all work with Marvel and Disney stuff. But We Digital is one of those.
We'll also consider that Unity.
Oh, now they're going to be working with
and consider the fact that Unity is what they used to produce all of the game engine assets or the engine assets that were screened in the volume for season 1 of The Mandalorian. They moved to Unreal for season 2. So it's just outsourcing something. It's fine. But yeah. You did you catch the end of my goalpost kicking thing?
No.
Okay. Doomcock keeps moving the goalposts, but reality's the kicker, and the kicker is Adam Vinatieri.
Yes. And
that's the best way to describe it. What's that?
And it's good.
It's good. Every time, because it's Adam Vinatieri.
Every time, yep. The Raiders know all too well about Adam Vinatieri kicks.
Yes.
Snowball. Terrible day. Terrible day.
I'd tuck my shirt in, but the Raiders would get mad at me.
All right, guys. Make sure to like this video, share it on social media so your friends, family, and Mephisto and Caden can watch along with you. As if it was your first time here, welcome. Please subscribe and ring the notification bell so you don't miss any future uploads and or content that we publish. I'm going to be trying to be doing more members only streams and stuff for members. So if you are a member, be looking on the lookout for that. Definitely turn the notifications on because I finally have access to the YouTube again. It's a long story, but I'm going to be able to do that again. Also, if you do want to become a member, it's as low as $2.99, and then it goes up from there up until $9.99. And then, if you want to help support the show further than that, you can always send a super chat during a live show. All money goes back into the production, and then towards giveaways and stuff like that. I know it hasn't been that frequent yet, but starting now until forever, until I lock myself out of fucking YouTube again, it'll be pretty consistent. So to all who watch now, present time, and in the future, you guys are the lifeblood of the Pop Culture Corner and why we do it every single day. Truly, there is no show without the viewer. So I just want to extend my gratitude to you. Also, my friend Brian and I are hosting a new podcast on a regular basis. We don't really have a schedule. And it's called The Recovery Brothers. We talk about our experience, strength, and hope. in our sobriety. And our goal is to help other addicts and alcoholics stay sober, one conversation at a time. So if you want to check that out, all the links for all of our social media, for Pop Culture Corner, for Caden, for anyone who's a part of the show, is in the link in the description below, as well as that podcast. Definitely head over and follow. And I do have a PSA about Apple Podcasts. So if you could, I am challenging you all to get onto Apple Podcasts if you do have access to like an iPhone or something, and leave a review for the Pop Culture Corner. Because it does help get new followers, new listeners, and like the algorithm loves those 5-star reviews. So if you could help me out and head over and review the show on Apple, I would like totally love it. And if you want to like screenshot it and send me a picture of that it's your review, I'll give you like a special shout out, maybe like a Amazon gift card or something. I don't know. Other than that, though, it was really fun talking to you tonight. Went over a lot of different stuff. And we'll be back tomorrow with Jiving with Jack. And then Friday and Saturday with just live streams. So with that being said, we do it for you and we do it for the culture. I'll see you next time.